Two women who shared a doubles court 4 months ago in Auckland, saving 7 set points together, celebrating together, high-fiving after one of those improbable rallies that make spectators gasp, now walk to opposite baselines on court. Philippe Chatrier. That is the particular cruelty and beauty of professional tennis. The sport gives you partnerships, then hands you the draw sheet and says, dismantle her. Alex Eala versus Iva Jovic, first round, 2026 Roland Garros. A match that landed in this draw like a small bomb, because neither of these players is a first-round level opponent anymore. Eala is ranked 37 in the world. Jovic is seeded 17th. And yet the mathematics of Grand Slam draws place them here, in the opening round, in a contest that deserves a quarter-final slot. Before we dig into the tactical architecture of what this match will look like, let me tell you where to find it. If you are watching from the United States, Roland Garros is broadcast on TNT, True TV, and available for streaming on Max. If you are in the Philippines, beIN Sports carries the tournament. Across Europe, Eurosport and Discovery Plus have coverage. In Australia, Stan Sport and 9 carry the action. In Canada, TSN and RDS. Across Asia, beIN Sports is the primary broadcaster. The match is scheduled for May 25th, and given the first-round scheduling, expected on one of the outer courts, or possibly Suzanne Lenglen, given the profile of both players. Now, let me tell you why this match matters far beyond its placement in the bracket. Iva Jovic turned 18 in December. In January, she walked into Melbourne Park and dismantled the draw, beating Katie Volinets, Priscilla Hahn, then world number 8 Jasmine Paolini in composed sets, then annihilating Yulia Putintseva 6-love 6-1 in 53 minutes to reach her first Grand Slam quarterfinal. She is the youngest American to reach an Australian Open women's quarterfinal since Venus Williams in 1998. That sentence alone should tell you the trajectory we are dealing with. She lost to Aryna Sabalenka in that quarterfinal, but no one expected otherwise. What they noticed was the absence of fear. Jovic did not look overawed. She looked like she had arrived early for an appointment she always intended to keep. Her clay season has been mixed but revelatory. In Charleston, she reached the semifinals on green clay, losing a competitive 3-setter to Jessica Pegula. In Madrid, she won her opening rounds before Leylah Fernandez came from a set down to beat her in the round of 32. But it was Rome that told the real story. Jovic drew Emma Navarro in the second round and won in 3, then beat Taylor Townsend, and then in the round of 16, she served for the match against Coco Gauff, the world number 3, the defending Roland Garros champion. Jovic was up 5-3 in the second set, serving for the win, and Gauff herself admitted afterward, "My head was almost in the locker room." Gauff survived. Jovic did not close it. But the fact that an 18-year-old from Torrance, California held match point against the woman who lifted the Suzanne Lenglen Cup 12 months ago, that fact rewrites how you evaluate Jovic's clay game. She is not merely functional on this surface. She is dangerous. Now, turn to Alex Eala, the Filipino who trains on Rafa Nadal's clay courts in Mallorca, the player who hit a career-high ranking of 29 in March, the player whose entire year has been a conversation between brilliance and frustration, between the hard court player she's already become and the clay court player she is still in the process of building. Eala's 2026 started magnificently. She reached the semi-finals in Auckland, that same Auckland where she and Jovic partnered in doubles, beating Venus Williams and Alina Svitolina in a stunning generational upset. Then she made the quarterfinals in Dubai, beating Paolini. Yes, the same Paolini that Jovic toppled in Melbourne in a match that announced her arrival among the tour's real contenders. In Miami, she pushed deep again. The ranking climbed. The game expanded. Then came clay. In Stuttgart, Leylah Fernandez dispatched her 6-1 6-4 in the second round. In Madrid, after a gritty first-round win over Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova, Elise Mertens demolished her 2-6 1-6. These were not close matches. These were statements about what clay still does to a game built on hard court timing and flat ball striking. But Rome changed something. Eala beat Magdalena Frech in a 3-set opener, 6-love 3-6 6-4, a match where she showed she could absorb punishment and still compete. Then she faced Wang Xinyu, the Olympic silver medalist, a woman ranked 9 spots above her who had beaten Eala in their last meeting. Eala went down 0-3 immediately, and then she won 12 of the next 13 games. She took that match 6-4, 6-3 in 83 minutes, reaching the third round of a WTA 1000 clay event for the first time in her career. Elena Rybakina ended the run in the next round, 6-4, 6-4. But there was dignity in that loss. Rybakina was at that point carrying 29 wins on the season. You don't shame yourself losing to the best player on tour in straight sets without ever disappearing. Then Strasbourg, the final preparation event before Roland Garros, and a 3-set loss to the Ukrainian qualifier Alexandra Olenikova. 3-6, 7-5, 6-3 to the Ukrainian, meaning Eala won the first set and then watched the match dissolve. This is the pattern that clay exposes. Eala generates brilliant tennis in bursts, but when the rallies extend and the opponent refuses to be hurt, the aggression loses its edge. She forces. She presses. The geometry narrows instead of expanding. So, here is where we stand heading into this first-round match. Jovic arrives carrying the confidence of a player who held match point against the defending champion on clay 2 weeks ago. Eala arrives carrying the wound of losing in Strasbourg's first round, but also carrying Rome, the proof that she can win on dirt when she commits to patience. Let me talk about their games and how they interact. Jovic's strength is her return game and her court positioning. She reads serve directions early, steps inside the baseline on second serves, and converts pressure into immediate baseline offense. Her forehand is heavy and well-directed. She moves the ball corner to corner with less raw pace than some of her peers, but with superior geometry. On clay, where the ball sits up slightly longer, her anticipation has time to work. She doesn't need to generate power from nothing because clay gives her the extra millisecond her eyes need. Her weakness, and this has been discussed extensively, is her serve. Her first serve percentage sits at 61.6% on the season. Her second serve win rate is 50.5%. Those are vulnerable numbers. When Goff came back against her in Rome, it was specifically because Jovic's serve tightened under the pressure of closing out the match. At 5-3 in the second set, she did not produce a single free point on serve in that game. Goff broke and momentum flipped permanently. Eala's serve is better, but not dominant. What Eala brings instead is pure ball speed off the ground when she is locked in. Her forehand, struck relatively flat with sharp cross-court angles, produces winners that most opponents don't reach. Her backhand is compact and reliable. It won't win many points outright, but it holds the rally together while she waits for the forehand opening. On clay, Eala's challenge is construction. On hard courts, her natural pace hurries opponents and creates short balls she can punish. On clay, the ball slows, kicks higher, and opponents have time to recover position. Eala's aggression needs more stages. She has to build the point through 3 or 4 directional changes before the opening appears. When she does this patiently, as she did against Wang Xinyu in Rome, she is more than capable of dominating. When she does not, as in Madrid against Mertens, she sprays errors trying to manufacture endings the rally hasn't earned. The tactical question for Eala is therefore about discipline. Can she play the point one shot longer than her instincts tell her to? Can she recognize when the court is open rather than hoping it will become open if she hits hard enough? The tactical question for Jovic is about the serve and about physical endurance. Jovic is a teen. Her body is still developing. 3-set matches in the Paris heat take an athletic toll that older, stronger players absorb more naturally. In Rome, she was physically brilliant through 1.5 sets against Goff, and then visibly dimmed in the third. If Eala pushes her to 3 sets, if the match enters a war of attrition in the decider, the question becomes whether Jovic's legs and lungs can sustain the level her talent produces. There is another dimension to this match that transcends tactics entirely. These two players know each other. They have sat together in player lounges. They have warmed up together before doubles matches. In Auckland, at 7-all in the first set tiebreak against Svitolina and Williams, Eala hit a running forehand volley and Jovic was the person screaming with joy beside her. They fought back from 5-3 down together. They saved 7 set points together. They won that tiebreak and then crushed the second set 6-1 together. That intimacy creates a strange texture in singles competition. You know exactly what your opponent likes to do because you have watched her do it from 2m away. You know her service motion. You know her tendencies under pressure. You know whether she looks at the ball toss or the target box. You know these things because you stood at the net while she served, because you discussed patterns during changeovers, because you celebrated her aces. How do you then weaponize that knowledge? And once you do, does the friendship absorb the blow? These are the unspoken questions that hover above matches between former partners. For Eala, this French Open carries particular weight. Last year in Paris, in her Grand Slam debut at Roland Garros, she lost to Emiliana Arango in the first round, 0-6, 6-2, 3-6. That first set bagel haunted her. It represented everything clay could do to her confidence, suffocated before it formed. She needs a different beginning this time. She needs to prove to herself that last year's debut was about inexperience, not about some fundamental incompatibility between her game and the surface. For Jovic, the stakes are different. She's seeded. She's expected to advance. The burden is not about proving she belongs, the ranking confirms that, but about demonstrating progression. Last year at Roland Garros, she beat Renata Zarazua in round 1, and then lost to Rybakina in round 2. A first-round win over Eala would merely match her 2025 trajectory. Losing would represent regression at the worst possible time, in the one Grand Slam where she has the least historical confidence. Jovic has never been past the second round in Paris. Her clay results across her career show a player still learning the surface. She grew up on Southern California hardcourts and didn't step on clay until roughly 5 years ago, according to reports from her Charleston debut. What she's accomplished on clay in 2026, the Charleston semi-final, the Rome near upset, is the product of dedicated off-season work and the physical improvements she made between November and January. But it remains newer ground for her than for most European-raised players. Eala, meanwhile, trains on clay daily at the Rafa Nadal Academy. She hits on those Manicure courts with players who grew up sliding into backhands. Her coach, Joan Bosch, understands clay tennis at a molecular level. The paradox is that Eala trains on clay more than Jovic does, and yet Jovic's 2026 clay results are objectively superior. That tells you something about the gap between practice competence and match competence on this surface. It also tells you that Ella's Rome breakthrough was meaningful precisely because it represented the first time her training translated under real competitive pressure against quality opponents on dirt. Here is what I think will happen, and I say this knowing that prediction in tennis is foolish. If this match reaches a third set, Eala has a genuine chance. In the decider, the question becomes who handles adversity better at this specific moment in their season. Jovic has the higher ranking and the more impressive overall results, but she also carries the scar of Rome of serving for a match against Goff and watching it slip away game by game. That memory is 2 weeks old. It is fresh. If Eala can push her to that territory again, if she can make Jovic serve under maximum pressure in a third set, the 18-year-old's resolve will face a test that no ranking can answer. But, if Jovic plays her a game from the start, if her serve lands consistently and her return game creates the early breaks, this match could be over in straight sets. Jovic's level, when everything clicks, is simply higher than Ella's current ceiling on clay. The seeding is not an accident. The 17-spot ranking gap is not noise. My honest assessment is that Jovic enters as the clear favorite, probably winning about 65% of scenarios you could simulate. But, the 35% where Eala wins are not fantastical. They require specific things. Eala finding her forehand early, Eala constructing points through the clay rather than against it, and Eala generating enough return pressure to make Jovic's serve tremble the way it trembled at 5-3 in Rome. What makes this match unmissable is not really about who wins. It is about two young women, one 20, one 18, who are both in the middle of becoming something they haven't finished becoming. They are both incomplete. They both have surfaces where their games don't fully translate yet. They both carry the promise of something much larger than this first-round match, and whoever loses will not have their career diminished by it. But whoever wins will walk into the second round knowing that she just beat a friend, a former partner, a peer who knows her game intimately, and that knowledge will either fuel the rest of the tournament or haunt her for the rest of the day. Watch this one. Schedule it. Set your alarm. In the United States, that is TNT, True TV, or Max. In the Philippines, beIN Sports. Across Europe, Eurosport. In Australia, Stan Sport and 9. In Asia broadly, beIN Sports carries Roland Garros coverage. The match is first round day 1, May 25th. These two are at the stage of their careers where every match carries revision weight, where one result can change how the tour sees you and how you see yourself. 4 months ago, they celebrated together in Auckland. Today, only one of them gets to celebrate, and the other has to find a way to call her friend afterward and mean it when she says, "Well played." That phone call, the one nobody sees, the one no camera captures, might be the hardest shot either of them hits all day.